Hi, my name is Tony Martinez from Stellar Properties. Today I'd like to talk about things to consider when buying a vintage home. Now there's a lot of appeal to buying a home in one of these historic neighborhoods, but there's some important things to consider. One of the first things to consider is that the heating and cooling systems installed in the old days, they usually didn't have as many options for systems, so they usually had just a couple systems to choose from and then they had to retrofit that system. So oftentimes those heating and cooling systems aren't as efficient as they could be by today's standards. So that's one of the first things that you should look at, is to make sure that the heating and cooling system is properly doing its job. The second thing to look at is the electrical systems. Oftentimes these older homes will have aluminum wiring or knob and tube wiring, so it's important to have an electrician come in, check that out, see how much of that old wiring exists and how much it's going to cost to replace it. A third thing to consider is many of these homes will have old chimneys that either need to be refortified or to be taken out completely. So that's a big project, and so that's an important thing to consider as well. Another thing to look at is the sewer line. Oftentimes these old homes have very old sewer lines that have not been replaced, and so they can have some problems somewhere down in the line. And so it's very important to have a sewer scope and make sure that sewer line is still functioning the way it should be. Another thing to consider is there can be hazardous materials in the home. Things like lead-based paint, things like asbestos tiling or siding or ceiling tiles. So it's important to make sure that there's no hazardous materials that exist or that they're encapsulated correctly. And so the last thing to remember is to make sure that you have an ACE inspector that is well versed in inspecting older homes. And so make sure that that inspector has done a wide variety of older homes to make sure that he or she can cover all those bases. So buying an older home can be a pleasure, but make sure you're prepared. I hope these tips have been helpful, especially those people that are thinking about buying an older home. This is the type of advice I give folks all the time. If you know of any buyers or sellers that are looking to buy or sell real estate in the near future, I'd appreciate if you'd pass my name along. Thank you very much.